And let me get this Instagram feed up and running. And there we go. And we are looking at the Hot Wheels roll cage, which is our current fastest in fleet vehicle. And usually I'm having some kind of strange issues happening with my camera. So the show must go on, and this isn't about me being on camera. This is about having Hot Wheels in the wind tunnel. And with Wind Tunnel Wednesdays, we take Hot Wheels cars and we put them inside the 1/64th scale wind tunnel by Funtech Labs, otherwise known as the Windsible. And we check to see what the aerodynamic profiles of each of these cars is, and it gives us an idea about how much drag these cars are going to face when they race on our track. And when do they race on the track? They race on the track every Saturday at AtTheTrack.live, Saturdays at 11 a.m. Pacific on YouTube and Twitch. We are introducing new cars into our fleet. We are racing cars. We are doing reviews. It is an opportunity for you to participate, find cars to race, and challenge our fastest car, which is this one, the Hot Wheels roll cage. It is one of the stranger cars that we've had as our champion. So this is our fastest in fleet champion, means this is the car that has beaten every other car that has come up against it in the tournaments week in, week out. And this car has been our champion for about the last 2 weeks, and it is the first car that we've had with these off-road tires to do well on the track. It is the I think that's probably the biggest thing about this car that's making it unique, other than the shape. The shape and the style, it's very unique, but the fact that it has those off-road tires is definitely something that makes it unusual for a car that's this fast, because usually the cars that have had those tires have been trucks, and they've been bigger, and they just haven't been able to be fast enough on our tracks to really do any serious damage. So what I'm going to do is take the Hot Wheels roll cage, and I'm going to put that in the wind tunnel in a minute. Hey, Roughshod. But if you want to find a car to put into the wind tunnel, all you have to do is go to that web address right there on the screen, AtTheTrack.live. And if you select the option that says choose your car, you will be taken to this page. And on this page, you will find all of the cars that are currently in the All About Aerodynamics at the Track Live fleet, listed and numbered. And we are up to 1,012 cars in the fleet. 1,012 cars currently in the All About Aerodynamics at the Track Live fleet. We have all kinds of cars. There are the old school cars from the 70s, 80s, cars from the 90s, the 2000s. We have character cars, cars modeled after real cars. We have if fish are your thing, we've got Nemo. We've got shark cars. We've got at least 3 different kinds of shark cars. We've got a turbo rooster. We've got all kinds of animals or insects or whatever. Maybe trains. We've got the locomotorin. This Thomas the Tank Engine inspired vehicle. Scorpion. There you go. We've got spiders. We've got skulls. Everything that you can think of. We've got pickup trucks. We've got race trucks. We've got SUVs. Whatever kind of Hot Wheel car it is that you are into, we have that represented here in one form or the other. And all you have to do is find the car that you think will be faster than the other cars that are introduced on Saturday, or faster, like right now you're thinking about that Hot Wheels roll cage car. And if you think that you can find a car that's faster than that, all you have to do is drop the number into the chat, like Roughshod just did. Let's see, 203, taking another look at 203 and in number 44. So we're going to check those out. So 203 and 44. So let's roll back up to 44, see what that is. Car 44, the Baha Bug. Okay. So before 2 weeks ago, when the Hot Wheels roll cage was selected, I would have thought this pick probably isn't going to go anywhere because, and my bias would have been because of those off-road tires. It wouldn't have had anything else to do with the thing but those off-road tires. But we've seen with the Hot Wheels roll cage that it's not just the tires that make the difference. Also, if the car has a good aerodynamic profile, then it can be fast. So, all right, we'll take a look at that one, and then let's see number 203. See which car that is. And car 203 that we will be putting into the wind tunnel. Let's see, what's the other one Roughshod picked? He's going to have, okay, going back with this truck, this trim truck. I don't remember if this one was one that you had picked before. I kind of, like, I want to say it was, but I don't remember if this actually raced or not. But this is an interesting one because it's so narrow, but the wheels are wide enough that it's not necessarily a narrow car. Because usually you get the narrow cars and they've got the wheels also kind of tucked in very narrow. And so so yeah, you looked at it but didn't pick it. So maybe it'll come in. You got two interesting cars. Whichever one you end up going with is going to be interesting. And then got a couple of other picks that Christopher has thrown out there. But yeah, there are 1,012 cars to choose from. We finally added a second page. 1,000 cars on a 1,000 cars pictures on a web page is a lot. It's doing a whole lot, but ultimately had to add a second page. So got to 1,000, added a second page. So if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you will find that second page. But a couple of things. We're going to start off with the Hot Wheels roll cage. If you do find a car you want, just take the number, drop it in the chat, and I'll pull the car, and then we will throw it into the wind tunnel. But a couple of things on the wind tunnel is that the first thing is that I contacted the Funtech Labs people, and we were talking about how we'd had issues with the air kind of leaking through into the wind tunnel, and we weren't getting like really crisp air smoke streams. And they gave me some pointers and some things to do, and it turns out the main thing that I needed to do, and the tip that actually made the difference, was changing out the filter. So in this area right here, this part actually, this back part here, it slides out. Now I have an early edition and it doesn't slide out as easily as it's supposed to, but there's a filter back there. Kind of looks like just a regular air filter that you'd put in your car, just smaller. And they suggested that I change that. So it came with it came with two. So I switched out that air filter, and it made a huge difference. It turns out that the smoke that comes through here, they haven't been clear on what chemicals they use to make the smoke, but I mean, it's not toxic, allegedly, but with that smoke, it's got kind of an oily, it leaves kind of an oily film. It's not too bad. If I were to leave the cars in here for a few minutes, when I take them out, you could definitely kind of feel it. It's a little slick, so that's why I always wipe the cars off after they come out of the wind tunnel. But anyway, that had kind of clogged up the filter, and so that's why air was just building up on the inside, especially in this back area, and it wasn't flowing out. So now that we've changed the filter out, the air, we're back to having sort of crisp lines on the airflow, so that'll be good. And the second thing was that I had made little wheel stands to put underneath the wheels of the car, because these things tend to roll forward like that. When you try to sit them in place, you can't get them to stay put. And so I made 2 sets of these little wheel stands and just put those underneath the tires, and that held the cars in place. But then I saw on the Funtech Labs website that they'll sell you a bunch of magnets so that you can put them underneath vehicles and adjust them in the wind tunnel. And I was thinking, hey, I have magnets, so all I had to do was just grab some magnets right there and put those in, and then I could just sit the car on top of the magnet. And it's a little easier to maneuver. I can do it quicker because I don't have to worry about aligning the front wheels and the back wheels. So this should be, it should make things a little faster, a little smoother, and we'll see. So we're going to put this car right there. Now, the one thing it won't do is it still doesn't, it doesn't help us with the flow of the air underneath the car, because that's usually going to be about the same for all these cars, because most Hot Wheels cars are flat on the bottom anyway. So the fact that those magnets are down there kind of blocking out the airflow isn't really going to matter. So let's go ahead and fire this up and see those smoke streams. It should be a little more clear and sharp now. And there we go. So this is at 67 miles per hour, and we can already see what happens with this car is there is no windshield, so that air hits that bumper, comes up over the hood, and then just basically just dumps down right into the driver's cockpit compartment, and then kind of flows out. We see it flowing out here, out the back, because there is no there's no windshield, there's no rear windshield. It's all open, so that air hits in there and then starts to flow out of the sides. Some of it's flowing out the back window and then down. This at 67 miles per hour. Yeah, definitely a huge improvement. So now what I have to do is I have to order more of those filters, and I think they're about I think you can, if you buy a bunch, then you can get a better deal buying in bulk. All right, so we're up to 107 miles per hour, and we can see that the first thing is the airflow. Yeah, this is so much better. That the airflow, when it's hitting the bumper, it's not really following along the lines of the body of the car, which is usually what you want to happen. It's specifically what you want to happen. It's hitting the bumper and then just coming up over the top, and then when it hits the top of the roof line, then it's just kind of splitting off. You can see a little bit of the air is going down into the cabin, and then it's kind of just hitting this roof line, splitting off over and under that the roof and the roll cage, this, which is basically what this car is, and then flowing out over the top. Some is still the air that's going into the cabin, still flowing out the back, and this is what we have. I'm going to turn this up. We're up to 147 miles per hour, and you see a lot of this turbulent air at the back, and that's what we would expect because we're not really finding a situation where the air is following along the body lines of the car. And so, and you can even see, if you look right here, you can see this turbulent air on the inside. So that air is coming up over the top, getting into that driver's cabin, and it's just swirling around there. That is not what you want to have happen. Push this up to 161 miles per hour. And yeah, it's just sort of turbulence all the way around. But the thing with this car is that there's not really anything blocking or impeding the airflow. So even when we look at the top, it's open. If any of those areas were closed off, if it had a windshield, if it had a rear windshield, if it had side windows, if it had a windshield, that would probably be a pretty big problem. But because it doesn't, that airflow is able, the air is still able to just kind of pass through this car. We're not really seeing anything that would be a red flag. Even with that front bumper being as wide as it is, there's still openings on either side of the bumper. So you can kind of see there that there is an opening. You can kind of see it on this side here. So there's not really anything. Yeah, it's basically a flat car. There's nothing to really disrupt the airflow. And that's, in the end, that's what you want. That's what you want from the car. So even though it's got this sort of turbulent, chaotic airflow, still nothing that's really going to interfere with this car's performance. So we've seen it move down the track, and this is up to 161 miles per hour. Kind of bringing this down a bit. And that is what we got from the Hot Wheels roll cage, which is our current fastest in fleet car. And we are going to check out one that's definitely just, it's going to give us an example of, I want to say what not to have as far as aerodynamics. It's this one. It is the 89 Toyota van, and yeah, the non-traditional aerodynamics. Exactly. We have this van, and it is it's. I remember seeing these, but and it did horribly on the track. We put it out there on Saturday, and we expected it to do poorly. I'm just kind of curious because it's got such a huge front area. Even though it's angled, that front windshield area, let's flip it around, look at this. I mean, that's just a massive frontal area. And the idea, of course, is that you want to reduce the size of the frontal area because you don't want anything to restrict that airflow. Then it's got that massive bumper, which the bumper is actually not, it's not so much of a problem. It's just so, if it wasn't so thick, then it wouldn't be a problem. So I expect we'll see the air kind of build up against that, build up against this front, come up to the top, and then I'm just interested in seeing how long, if at all, that air flows along the lines of the roof, or if it just comes up off of the windshield and kind of breaks away from flowing along the lines of the body. It's definitely it's not what you would want to pick. The only way this could be worse is if this wasn't angled. The fact that this angled makes it a little better, But if it was straight up, it would pretty much be like the that Kowloon Hypervan that we raced a couple of weeks ago, and it was terrible. So let's check this out in the wind tunnel, and we can just drop this right here onto the magnets, which, make sure I can get it lined up just right. Well, sometimes I only need one. We'll try it with the one magnet. And got this van here. So we've got the Toyota van. I forget the year on this. I think it was like 89. So let's go ahead and fire this thing up and see what we see. So that air does pretty much what we thought it would do. It is hitting right at the front of this massive front area windshield segment, hitting that, and the majority of that air is going right up the windshield, and then it's hitting this roof line and then flowing along the roof line. But this is at a low speed. It's 67 miles per hour. So we're going to crank this thing up, pushing it up to 107 miles per hour. It's actually not as bad. It's not as awful as I thought it would be. But you can really see this turbulent, chaotic airflow, this turbulent air at the back, where the air is coming up from the bottom, air is coming off from the top, and it's a mess. I mean, you're going to see that with just about every car at the back end, other than one that Christopher is bringing back today. That is sort of an ideal aerodynamic car, pushing this up to 147. Yeah, it really isn't as bad. I really thought this was going to be a lot worse. But as poorly as this thing did on the track, there's a couple of reasons. But this big, even though the air does seem to kind of flow up over the top, it's coming detached from the roof line a little bit, but not as much as I thought. I thought it was going to be a lot worse. And here we go with the Windsible saying, yeah, I've had enough. Well, we're not done, so we're going to fire this right back up and see what we can see. And I'm looking in particular at that the third stream. It's coming, hitting right there, just going up above and flowing right past. So this is good. And putting that filter in made a huge difference, because now we're seeing so much more of what the air is actually doing. We're up to 161 miles per hour, 174. And then you can see some of the air right here at the front, how it's dipping down to go underneath that bumper. It's kind of hitting that bumper and then going back underneath. So that's kind of interesting there. And up to 174. Let's go up to 188. And now is where we start to see the problem. Now, because as speed increases, drag becomes more of a factor. So as we get the speed up, now we see that air really breaking away. It becomes much more turbulent right here at the roof line, even as it moves up the windshield. But it's definitely breaking away from the body. And that's the part that causes this thing problems. When we push it up to 201 miles per hour, absolutely a complete and total problem. That separation, as soon as that air starts to separate from the body of the vehicle, that's when you're getting changes in pressure, that's when drag is increasing. And now it went from just a little bit of like turbulence back here to now it's just a mess. And this is why this is not a car that's built for speed. When you take it down, when I take it way down to, sort of highway cruising speed, 67 miles per hour right there, it's not bad. And that is, and if I take it down even lower, not bad. And that's the whole point, is that family cars and minivans and things like that, it's better if they have a better aerodynamic profile because it'll help save on gas. But in the end, they're not going that fast. So drag isn't going to be as big of a factor when you're just, cruising down the street at slow speeds. And that is the Toyota van. I believe it was 89 van. And the next one we're going to look at is kind of interesting because I've been my new thing that I'm most interested in and fascinated with right now is this. It is bring it up. It's this one. It is this one that I got from the Round 2 Corporation, the Racing Champion Series. It is this John Force peak antifreeze NHRA Camaro funny car. And it weighed in at about 55 grams, which is massive, extremely heavy on our track. But then it was winning races. And I just couldn't believe, how was this happening? Was it an accident, but we ran it back? No, it was not. And it turns out that that Hot Wheels made a NHRA funny car, which the thing that's funny, that's not funny about this funny car, is I went to an NHRA drag race event and they had a little merchandise area. They were selling these at the time, some of the mainline version of this car, which is the blue one, this one, selling them for $7 each, which was outrageous. But anyway, this is the Hot Wheels version of the NHRA funny car, and we put that up against the peak racing champions John Force Camaro funny car. The Camaro, even though it was heavier, destroyed this car. Well, not destroyed. It beat it, and sometimes it beat it by half a car length, a full car length. Either way, it's consistently beaten it. And that's just so unusual. So then I was like, well, maybe, all right, it was that car. So it beat the yellow version. It beat the blue version. Not that there's anything different about these two other than the colors. So it beat both of those. And then Hot Wheels has another they have this one, the Supercharged, which is, it's a funny car, but it's a fantasy funny car because that's what they made. Although it's not all that different from their sort of official NHRA versions. Pretty similar. But I said, okay, let's see if this John Force, if that Pete Camaro can beat the Supercharged. And it did. So it turns out that when Hot Wheels is creating these funny cars, they are kind of taking liberties. They're not really being exact to the real dimensions and real everything of the funny car. Whereas the Racing Champion Series is pretty much an exact copy, just scaled down, of a funny car. So all of the important aerodynamic elements, all the design things that are used to direct the airflow are there with those cars, and they are not there with the Hot Wheels cars. And that's why the Hot Wheels cars, even though they weigh less, keep getting beaten. So we've already put the other funny cars in the wind tunnel, but this Supercharged, I want to see this one in the wind tunnel because maybe we can just look at it and see what Hot Wheels is not doing right that is allowing their cars to get beaten out by much heavier cars, which is pretty crazy. Let me switch the view. And it's pretty wild because the Hot Wheels cars are so much lighter. And for the longest time, well, not even for the longest time, it's just sort of a fact. It's Isaac Newton's second law of motion that force equals mass times acceleration. So if you want something to move faster, you need to give it more force. The amount of force that you give an object is going to determine how fast it moves and how far it goes. So on our track, with our launcher, each car gets exactly the same amount of force. So you would think that the lighter car would be the car that would win a race if the cars are more or less similar, but that obviously wasn't the case. We had a much heavier car win. So then the question is, if it's not the weight, what's the difference? And the difference is the aerodynamics. So let's see what's happening with this one and see what we can see. Coming in 67 miles per hour, kind of low cruising speed. And now the first thing that I do notice is that the Supercharged does not sit as low as the actual funny cars. The actual funny cars sit really low. The front especially is really low because they don't want air getting underneath the car. So I can already see here with this splitter tilted up just a little bit that the air can hit there and flow underneath the car. Not ideal. It's 67 miles per hour, just like with the Toyota. Everything looks cool, looks good, but let's see what happens when we start to turn this up. So we are seeing that this is at 107 miles per hour. The first smoke stream is hitting, and it's kind of, most of it's going underneath. Well, here we go with the Windsible deciding to do this, but we are going to fire it right back up and see what we can see. So that first stream is hitting right at that splitter, and most of it appears like it's going underneath, but then some you can see is coming up over the top. And as we turn this up, we're gonna get that separation. Look at that this second airstream and how it just starts to separate. We're at up to 107 miles per hour, and the airflow from the first airstream is very thin. So not that much of the air is coming up over the top of the splitter. Most of it is going beneath. So let's turn this up some more. And we're up to 134 miles per hour. And now the hood is, the middle part of the hood is black. So it's not like there's a huge separation between that second airstream and the red part. There's actually a black, the top of the car is right in here. It's black, so it's not that much of a separation issue. We're up to 134. Let's go ahead and push this up further. And up to 161 and 174. And now it's hard to see, but we are not getting the the smoke stream is not really following along the lines of the body. It's starting to separate because you can see it just angles straight up. It's not coming over the hood, hitting this raised part of the engine, then the windshield, then the roof line. It's just kind of hitting right here and being pushed up, and it's going up until it hits the windshield roof line, and then it just kind of curves up. It's not, air isn't being directed down into this channel. It's just sort of hitting and moving up. But let's go ahead and push the speed up. We're up to 201 miles per hour, and pretty much the air is just detached from the body and flowing up, kind of grazes the roof line and the windshield, and then back up over the top. This other air is hitting at the front, hitting that splitter, going underneath. We're not really seeing too much happening at the back end because this car is so long that by the time the air passes off the back end, it is entering, it's going back through the filter. So this is not ideal. It doesn't look bad. It looks bad when you put it against a car like the John Force funny car, because with that car, what we see is the airflow following along the lines of the car a little bit better. Let's go ahead and throw this in there again, just to show some of the differences. And this car is definitely, it's longer. There are some other little features and things that make it clear why this car performs the way that it does. And so when we get to, so one, it sits lower, which basically means that this air that's hitting right at the front is coming up over the top. And that's where these cars want the air directed. They want it to come up over the top because then they can add in different design elements to kind of control that airflow. So even as I turn this up, you still see that the air, it's hitting the front, coming up over, and then it gets to the motor, and then we have a little bit of turbulence because there's a raised, where the engine is sticking up and disrupting that airflow. But then the air is hitting the windshield, coming up over the top, and you can see that it's still flowing and following along the lines of the car. Yeah, and definitely this up to 161 miles per hour, and you can see that the air is still flowing along. It's not detaching from the body, and it's even right here, it's slightly moving down a little bit to go into this channel with the wings, and you can kind of see how that air is getting streamlined. And if you look at the cockpit has a teardrop shape, and that is the most aerodynamic shape there is. So the air that hits and goes around the sides of the cockpit is still redirected to this back area with those fins just coming up, and the spoiler is not as big as it is on the other one. Yeah, the front wheels are interesting because they're actually, the body sticks out a little further, and then it actually protects the front wheels. So the air that's coming around the sides never really even interacts with the front wheels. Whereas on the Hot Wheels car, the wheels are just there. Even the rear wheels are protected. They're tucked under the body. So the air that's coming off the sides is still just being directed in a very specific way, and that is not happening with the Hot Wheels cars, and that's why even though this one's so much heavier, it is faster on our track because it's more closely modeled to the real world aerodynamics and design of the actual funny cars. The Hot Wheels versions are not, and even though they're lighter, that the aerodynamic profile is much more important. So I'm gonna go and grab Roughshod and Christopher's cars, and then we'll throw those in the wind tunnel and see what we see. But for now, I'll just leave the this John Force NHRA Camaro SS Peak Antifreeze funny car. Leave it in the wind tunnel while I go and grab these other cars. I'll be right back. All right, let's wind this down. Yeah, this car for a bunch of reasons. This is definitely, it's absolutely my favorite non-Hot Wheels car. But it's now kind of moved. It's kind of moved up. It's getting close to being one of my favorite cars. I just really like it, and it's so unusual because it's a premium car, but it has plastic wheels, and that's something that we just don't usually get, because the people who are paying a lot of money for these cars, they want the premium features, which usually means the rubber wheels, the real riders. So that's what they get. All right, let's take a look at what Roughshod is considering. One of the cars, it's this one, the TRM Truck, and this one's interesting because it's so narrow, but yet it's got these wide, the wheels are placed in sort of a standard position. So if the body wasn't so narrow, this would just be a regular Hot Wheels truck. But the wheels are spaced out. I mean, it's given the illusion that the wheels are spaced out, but they stand out from the body, which is kind of interesting because it's not, now when you have the wheels sticking out like that, it's not just the body that you have to think about as far as the aerodynamics and the airflow over the body, but now these tires are sticking out. And the way they're sticking out, that means the air is going to hit those tires and then do whatever it's going to do. And that's a big concern. It's one of the reasons why, just coming back, this is always a good example to use, it's why this funny car is so low. And funny cars in general, let me stop this, because the idea is that you want to send the air to places where you can control what happens. And if the air can't get under the car, then it can't hit the tires and the transmission or whatever may be underneath the car. You can control it better up top. So this has, like, the wheels are actually protected, and I can actually show it better here. Right there, that those wheels are completely protected. And if you look at it from the front, you can't even see the wheels. And you can't see the back wheels either. Those are also tucked in. So, and this is all designed to channel that air. Whereas with the trim truck, the air is going to definitely be hitting those wheels, and that's actually maybe the more interesting thing. So let's go ahead and put this into the wind tunnel and see what we see here with the trim truck. It's kind of funny. It's tall enough that the magnets don't matter. All right, let's go ahead and lock this down and fire it up. Well, I guess I first should make sure that it's lined up properly. Yes, it is. All right, now let's go. All right, so with this one, I mean, we can expect, I think we kind of know what to expect with it being a pickup truck. Granted, it's a little stretched out a bit, but this is at 67 miles per hour, just a little light highway cruising speed. But as we push this up, we're going to see we're up to 134 miles per hour. And as the air hits the windshield, comes up to the roof line, and then it just detaches because it's not, there's nothing there. The bed is covered, but the airflow is just detaching. So you see that turbulent air, which indicates that there's a pressure change, and it's not exactly what we want to see. We do see, we can't put too much on the airflow we're seeing coming up from underneath, because we do have the magnets there, and those are kind of impeding the airflow underneath. But the cars are flat underneath, so that's not really going to be the issue. The issue is going to be with the air hitting this big frontal area, then having to go over, under, and around this truck. It's coming up over the top, breaking off there, so we're getting a pressure differential there, which is probably going to, well, not probably, it's going to work against the car's forward momentum. To what extent, we won't really be able to determine until the car races. Pushing this up to 161 miles per hour. Just seeing a lot more in that frontal area where that air is hitting this part of hitting the grill and the bumper, and then having to come up over the top. Now the good news is that this truck is pretty narrow, so if it were wider, there would have a even larger frontal area. So the frontal area isn't as big as it potentially could be, but I think what we need to do is I'm going to move this so that we can see if we see any changes with the airflow when it hits those tires. And that's it's kind of the curious thing here, because otherwise we're just sort of seeing standard kind of truck performance. So what I want to see is whether or not we can actually align this so that we can see what's happening with the wheels. Right there. All right, let's see if we can, I think I have it lined up right. Take a look. So that center line there, you can kind of see, got the wheels on it. So let's just see if there's any noticeable disruption, change, anything strange happening. That airflow, we are up to 107 miles per hour, and it is, so what we're actually getting is the air is hitting this front wheel, and then it just is bouncing off, over, under, and around, and that's pretty much what we'd expect. It's a little hard to see. So we moved it so that the air is just hitting there, and you can't really, it's a little tough. But see how the air, like if you look toward the bottom, and that's that first smoke stream, how it's kind of curving underneath. I mean, in this view, it's curving underneath toward the bottom. But essentially that air is hitting those tires and then curving out around them. Some of the air obviously is going over the top, but it's the thing that's unique about this truck that we don't really know how those wheels sticking out like that are going to impact its overall performance. So if roughshod goes with that truck, that's just one of the things that's kind of the unknown. The wind tunnel is only going to tell us, it's going to give us some pretty good information, but sometimes it's mostly a gamble. This is the other vehicle that roughshod is considering, and hey, Socks, no problem. We're here just doing our thing. Hey, Christopher, how you doing? So this is interesting because, like I said at the beginning, if we didn't have the Hot Wheels roll cage as our fastest in fleet champion, I would have thought that picking this one was a little, it's kind of a long shot. And I only would have thought that. I would have thought that specifically because of the off-road tires. But we have seen that the off-road tires are not necessarily a deal breaker. So let's go ahead and throw this thing into the... Oh, whoa, okay. We're talking about here's something you might want to consider. This is a metal body on a metal base. So I just noticed when I went to go pick this thing up that it was heavy. Heavier than I expected. But we've seen with the Peak NHRA funny car that just because a car is heavy does not mean it can't compete and win. So let's see what we've got with this one. We have this Baha Bug right here with the off-road tires. It is heavy. I mean, that was a little surprise. I went to go. It's one of those things where you go to pick something up and you expect it to be one weight and it's significantly in the other direction. Like you think something's going to be heavy and it's really light, or you think something's going to be really light and it's heavy. This falls into that heavy category. All right, at 67 miles per hour, we're seeing the air just come up. There is, like the Baha or the HW Hot Wheels roll cage, there is no front windshield, so that smoke and that air just spills right into the driver's cab. Now there are no side windshields. There aren't. And then it's got the sunroof, but here's the thing: it doesn't have a rear window. Well, it does. It's got those two little openings there, but that doesn't allow the air to flow all the way. It doesn't allow the air to flow all the way through, and that kind of restricts the airflow just a little bit. You see it coming up out of the window. So let's go ahead and turn the speed up. And also, so the air that is coming up, hitting right at the roof line, the sort of windshield roof line, the top part of the roll cage, basically. The roof, it's kind of splitting off, and so some is going underneath, some is going up over the top. Once it hits the roof and there's an opening there for the sunroof, the air is coming up out of the top of that sunroof and then hitting that little, I don't know what that would be exactly, but this piece sticking up here, you see everything beyond that is just extremely turbulent. So we're at 107 miles per hour. Let's push this up to 134. And you can see that air that's streaming in, look in this back window. It's just building up, and then it's escaping out of the window, the rear window, but that's not what you really want. I think with that Hot Wheels roll cage, the difference is you have the air entering to the driver's cab, but there's nothing in the back, so it just kind of flows out. It's almost like nothing's really there other than the bars on the roll cage. This one's a whole other story. If you were to just look at this car in halves, so, oh well, there we go. This thing's gonna stop, but I'm not finished with what I was talking about, so I'm gonna fire it back up again. And this is a tale of two halves. Pushing this back up to 134 miles per hour. So what I was saying was two different things. If you just looked at this car, if you looked at the front half, like right there, you'd say, oh, okay, that airflow, that's not too bad. But then you look at this back end, and that's crazy. That is a wild, that's just chaotic, and that's a mess. So you've got not too bad, really bad. Not too bad, terrible. So that's, and then on top of all that, no, Christopher, we're about to do your cars. So on top of all that, then you've got the question of the off-road wheels. And is the HW roll cage just a special car? Or is it possible for another car with the off-road tires to actually do well? So those are the two. Roughshod has to pick from, so we'll see which one he goes with. Christopher, on the other hand, has a choice to make as well. And so the first car that he's considering is this McLaren P1. And we are going to put that in the wind tunnel and see what kind of aerodynamic profile this car has. It looks like it should have the standard supercar, hypercar profile. And Roughshod has seen enough. He is going with that trim truck. And so we'll get to see how that all plays out. We've got this McLaren P1, dropping that into the wind tunnel. Gonna fire that on up. Yeah, I think if I had to pick between those two, I'd go with that truck as well. That Bug is heavy. I was surprised. I didn't expect it to be an all-metal situation. The year on the bottom is 1983. But I think it's like a recast. It must be a recast. All right. This McLaren, 67 miles per hour, cruising speed. Very good aerodynamic profile. But as we know, that doesn't tell the tale because drag increases with speed. So we will push this all the way up. And so, yeah, so see, that's the thing, Socks, is, so he's saying that with its weight, if it can get enough speed, it could roll longer. And that's true. The problem is that our launcher pushes the cars out with the same amount of force. And because it pushes the cars out with the same amount of force, the lighter car should move faster and go farther. But as we saw with that John Force Peak NHRA funny car, that is not always the case. If your car has superior a superior aerodynamic profile, it can go faster and farther with even weighing more, which goes against the sort of theory of Isaac Newton's second law of motion, but that doesn't take into account one car having a superior aerodynamic profile. All right, we've pushed this up to 107 miles per hour, and it's looking pretty good. Pretty good. The air is hitting, in that first airstream, is hitting the front bumper and coming up over the hood, crossing the hood, getting to the windshield, and coming up to the roof line, staying more or less attached. It looks like it's kind of breaking off here, but then it jumps down and hits the wing, which is what you want. The wings are designed to produce downforce on these hypercars and supercars. But as we turn this up, 147 miles per hour, we're still okay. There's just starting to be a little more separation right in this area, but it's still dropping down to the wing. Not bad. Pushing this up to 161. And now what we're seeing is the airflow just kind of cresting up over the top, and it's still coming back down slightly, but it is breaking away just a bit from the body of the car. You can see a little bit of that turbulent air right in this area, but it's not bad. Pushing this up to 188. And now at 188, we are really starting to see where this air, it's just flowing completely right up over the top, kind of coming down just a bit. And I'm looking at, in particular, this second airstream, because that's coming in, and in theory, this should be flowing right along the lines of the car, but it's breaking away, which is where we see the airflows tend to break away on these cars, right around the roof line. That's at 188. This is at 201. So that is the McLaren P1. That is one car that that Christopher is considering. I didn't see anything that would make me hesitant about picking that car. Seems pretty solid, like a solid pick. And again, if you want to pick a car to race on Saturday at AtTheTrack.live, which is at 11 a.m. Pacific on YouTube and Twitch, all you have to do is go to AtTheTrack.live, select the choose your car option, and you will be taken to the page that has all of the cars in our fleet listed. Just grab the number, drop it in the chat, and I will pull that car, and you're entered into the tournament. Now, this is the other car that Christopher is considering, and if you have watched, if you watched AtTheTrack.live, the end of 2024 and most of 2025, you know this car. He is bringing back the BlitzSpeeder, which is the all-time AtTheTrack.live fastest in fleet champion. It was the most dominant car that we'd seen. It had 2 runs as fastest in fleet champion, and it is undeniably fast car, and it took a long time before we could find a car to even compete. So we're going to throw this in the wind tunnel. We know what this car looks like in the wind tunnel, but it's been a while. So welcome back to the BlitzSpeeder. It may be time. It may be time for this car to return. If you watch wrestling, sometimes someone will go away, like a Brock Lesnar or somebody will go away for months and months, and you won't think about them, and then all of a sudden they just reappear to challenge the champ. That could be what we see here. And we're going to go ahead and throw the BlitzSpeeder in. We're going to fire this up. Let's go. Our cruising speed, 67 miles per hour, and we are seeing we are seeing the BlitzSpeeder and why it was so dominant on the track for so long. I'm going to push this speed up. And what we're seeing is that airflow just hitting this car and flowing right over the top. And there's nothing to impede the airflow. There's nothing to block it, to stop it, to slow it down at all. And this is one where I'm actually better off dropping it. I'm going to slow this down. This one, because of the way it's shaped, is actually, I'm going to just put it flat on the surface there, so that first airstream, what I want is that first airstream to be able to hit this car, so that we can get kind of a better idea and appreciation. Although Christopher is already convinced he's going with the BlitzSpeeder. He's bringing the BlitzSpeeder back. And we're going to see. We're going to see what these other cars have in store. And I guess the Windsible seems like it's afraid of the BlitzSpeeder. Doesn't want to fire up. I'm going to try it one more time. All right, here we go. Pushing the speed. 121 miles per hour. And this is what I'm talking about here. When we're talking about the airflow and not separating from the body of the car, this is what we mean. That air is coming in, hitting right at the nose, coming up over the small hood section to the windshield, to the roof line, all the way across the back, and then right off the tail. This is like, there's no better example that we have had of a car with the absolute best aerodynamic profile. And it was beaten. It was beaten. It has been beaten. So it's not impossible. But if you're just going to pick a car based on aerodynamic profile, this is the car. And it is coming back. It was dominant for months and months. Got beaten by the Gazella R. Came back, beat the Gazella R, and continued a whole other run for months and months. But it has been beaten. The Dogfighter was the first car to take it out. And then I think, I want to say it was that Mercedes-Benz 500E beat it. It was something a little weird, but either way, here we go. This is it. The BlitzSpeeder, former champion, coming back. Incredible aerodynamic profile. This is the car. And we will find out if it can come back and reclaim the title. It's going to be, it's not going to be easy. It is definitely not going to be easy. But we've seen some strange things happen. I think that would make the BlitzSpeeder about a 3-time champion. It's been a lot. So let's go back over here. So we've got the BlitzSpeeder. We've got the truck locked in. We have a bunch of cars that I am going to be introducing. Oh, Roughshod and Virgo sent 2 cars, and the package got lost in the mail and this and that, but it showed up. And so this Saturday we'll be cracking open that box. We will be racing 2 new cars that I still haven't seen in the stores. So that is going to be something to look forward to. So we've got those 2 cars. we have this TRM truck, we have the BlitzSpeeder, we have this Hot Wheels roll cage, and we have other cars that I'm going to introduce. So we were talking about, yeah, we have, if you want to pick a car, go to AtTheTrack.live, select the choose a car option, and they're all there. And Christopher and I were chatting about, thinking about the idea about an app that has the cars listed. And it would be something that would give people another option for picking cars versus the website, because there's no guarantee that it's going to load faster, because you would still have 1,000 plus pictures that needed to be there. So it's just something I'd have to work on, because I am not a coder by trade, so I'd probably have to vibe code it and then try some things out. But it's something to consider, and then having to do it for both platforms. Yeah, there's a lot to it. It's not all that simple. But anyway, Saturday we will be here racing cars, 11 a.m. Pacific at the track live. We've got plenty of cars to choose from. 1,012. Start looking now, because it's going to take a while to sort through all those cars, find the cars that you want. Racing reviews. If you want to see any old episodes, go to the YouTube page. They're all listed there. We have just about, 1,012. That's a lot of Hot Wheels cars to look through. It just is. We'll have to check, Christopher, because I have so many cars in storage that just let me know which cars they are, and then I'll be able to look them up, and then I'll kind of know whether or not I already have those or not. So then I can let you know, because I wouldn't want anybody to waste their time and money mailing things. So, all right, until Saturday, I am Coach James for At The Track Live, for All About Aerodynamics, and for Wind Tunnel Wednesdays. Until next time, I will see you at the races.